Welcome to another episode of the Victory Podcast, driven by Audi. I'm your host, Keely, Eure, driven by my co-host and former USC quarterback, Cody Kessler. Cody, it's a special episode today. We're talking to former USC quarterback Sam Darnold. We actually just finished talking to him. It was a fun time, and we learned a lot. Cody, I'm sure you feel the same way.
Yeah, it was a great episode. Sam is awesome, one of my all-time favorite teammates, and it was just cool to hear his insight and some of the stories that he told. And for those of you who listen to this show a lot, you know how much of a football nerd I am. He is right there on the same wavelength with me. I mean, we went back and forth. We answered some of the questions together. We shared some stories. We kind of gave some insight of what it was like for me here at USC, and then him being here at USC, and then what it was like for both of us at the NFL and adversity and just all the things that happened. And it was so cool to hear from his perspective and kind of go back and forth on some of that. We got carried away a little bit. I apologize.
Football nerd. It was a football nerd episode.
We started talking railroad.
It was great, though.
You'll hear it when we get in the episode, but railroad route concepts. Railroad is a route concept, protections, different things, how to call an offense, different personnel groupings. So it was awesome. But yeah, Sam's a great guy. I'm so excited for the success he had this year. And when you watch this episode and listen, obviously you can tell how humble he is and how much he loves USC football and how he still bleeds Cardinal and gold, and just how great of a teammate he was to the guys that were here with him too. He talked so highly about his times here at USC and the guys that he played with. So yeah, it's a real treat. So hopefully you get excited for this episode. And we promised to have some guests on. We've done it a lot before. Now we're delivering. Hopefully we can continue to do this. We want to have some other guys lined up, some other quarterbacks, get into some other position groups as well in the future for the Victory Podcast. But it was such a great start, for this offseason to have Sam Darnold on.
For sure. And I know we want to get into the episode quickly because I hate that when you turn on to a podcast and you're like, just get to the interview itself. But we do have a couple reminders. I actually want to tee you up, Cody, because you have a really fun update for our listeners as far as your career as well. So take it away.
Yeah, I got a big opportunity next week. There's a show on NFL Network called Good Morning Football, Good Morning Football Overtime. One of their co-hosts, Kyle Brandt, is going to be gone for the week. So my agent reached out to me and said that their producers wanted me to take his spot for a week. So I will be joining Good Morning Football on the NFL Network for the entire week. It'll be February 24th, so that's the Monday. It'll go through that entire week. They go for 5 days. The show times will be early in the morning on the West Coast, but it's 8 to 10 a.m. Eastern time is Good Morning Football. And then the overtime show is right after from 10 a.m. to noon on Eastern time as well. So for Pacific time, it's 5 to 7 a.m. and then 7 to 9 a.m. So an early morning call for me. I've got to be there. I think the recording or the studio's down in Inglewood area. And I'm a little bit further south. I'm down in Irvine. So it's going to be an early call for me, but I'm excited. It's a great opportunity. I'm so thankful for this. And Keely and all the listeners and all of you guys that have, enjoyed this show and helped me kind of get my name out there a little bit and on the broadcaster side of things. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to have this opportunity. But if you can't be up that early to watch it, or if you're working, you can record it as well, but be sure to tune in if you can. But like I said, it'll be on NFL Network the week of the 24th. So not this week, but the following week. And yeah, I'll be on there for 5 days straight. So huge opportunity. I'm excited for that. And it's the week of the combine too. So talk a lot about NFL, but get to talk about some college as well, which has been my specialty and what to look for in the combine and some of those stories. So yeah, again, thank you guys so much for making this possible and helping me continue my broadcasting career. But yeah, it's a big opportunity. So we're pretty excited here in the Kessler household.
Very, very happy for you. And the Victory Pod listeners always show out. I remember when you had a gig over at Fox for, I believe, the Colorado game. Victory Pod listeners showed up in the comments. So if you guys could do that again and support Cody, that'd be great. Love seeing you guys support Cody. It's always so fun to see. Okay, just a couple reminders before we jump into the episode itself. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Also, if you ever want to get your voice heard, be sure to look out for a tweet or a question box either on Twitter or Instagram. Our socials are Victory Pod USC. We have a lot of questions for Sam, and we asked a lot of them if we didn't cover it in our discussion portion. So thank you for everyone who reached out and had questions for Sam in that regard. You can also send us a text. You don't have to wait for a tweet or a Instagram post. It's in the audio description of each episode. But without further ado, let's head over into the interview. Here is Sam Darnold. I'm so excited to welcome in our guest for today's episode, quarterback Sam Darnold. Sam, thanks so much for joining the show.
Of course. Thanks for having me, guys.
So I'm just curious off the bat, have you had time to process this past season? What has it been like so far this couple past weeks in the off season?
Yeah, it was a pretty busy first couple weeks of the off season. I'm not gonna lie, just and it was an honor, to have a couple busy weeks, with the Pro Bowl in Orlando, and then right after that was the Super Bowl in New Orleans. I got to do some events over there just to do some marketing stuff. But so we were kind of were kind of traveling a lot. Didn't really get to rest as much as, I would have hoped to. But now I'm fully, in recovery mode and kind of even back training a little bit, doing some like, tendon, regenerative, like kind of stuff, tissue work, just to get the body moving, get sweating a little bit. Yeah, it's been a great couple weeks so far this off season. And then, yeah, just looking back on the season, like it was such a great year. Obviously didn't end necessarily the way that we all hoped it would. But yeah, it was a great year, just looking back on everything, the teammates that I had, the coaches that I had, and the coaching that I got, throughout the season, really opened up my eyes to, just, how great of a coaching staff we had this year. All the way from, obviously the defensive staff was great. I'm not going to name all those guys, but Kevin O'Connell, Josh McCown, Wes Phillips, Grant Udinsky, just all the guys that were working, towards and for the quarterbacks all season were incredible for us. Yeah, just an incredible regular season. And then obviously, like I said, things didn't end the way that we wanted to, but felt like, it was a good season, for all of us, in the purple.
Yeah, and I kind of want to stick with that real quick, Sam. And like you said, didn't end how you wanted it to, but man, you played great this year. It was so much fun watching you play, and obviously being a former quarterback, I could just tell how loose you were out there, right? And you were having fun, and kind of like we saw you do here at USC, right? Just kind of when the play broke down, you didn't panic. You'd always just seem so comfortable and finding the guy open. I know it helps to have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and guys like that out there to throw to, but kind of looking at the mental side of things, as a whole, what really helped, take that next step? And you mentioned the coaching staff and the players around you, but can you really pinpoint what helped you take that next step and have the success you had this year? Because the talent's always been there, right? Your arm talent, the skill set, you've always had that. It just felt like you were kind of waiting to have that breakout year, and this was it for you in Minnesota. So what really helped you have that, you think, or have the success that you had this year?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think first and foremost, like it's the journey, that I've been on. Whether it was, the first few years with the Jets, the first couple, the couple years that I had in Carolina. Obviously, as a whole, they weren't great seasons. They were, losing seasons where I might have gotten hurt throughout the season, or throughout one of the games, and and that's just how it goes, and I learned so much throughout that journey. And then obviously I go to San Francisco, and that's where I really learned a ton, to be with Shanahan, to be with Brock, those quarterbacks over there, those players over there, just to see, how many great players there were on the roster, and what kind of just, experience it and see kind of how much detail all the guys put into their work every single day. And Brock, especially, just his study habits and how he went about every single day trying to be the best quarterback that he could be. He wasn't focused on, oh, what kind of speech am I going to give the guys today? He wasn't focused on any of that kind of stuff that, maybe I was thinking about, when I was a young player. It was literally just, all right, what's the game plan? What do I have to do my job, to the best of my ability? And that's all I need to do throughout the week. And he was so prepared, for Sundays, and just his study habits and all those little things, because obviously Brock's a younger player than I am, but I sure as heck I learned a ton from him, man. And just how he went about every single day. And that's really, I think, the biggest thing that I learned a ton from, was my time in San Francisco. And obviously Kyle, the way that he coaches football, Brian Greasy, the way that he, coaches quarterbacks over there. It was just, such a great experience, to be able to learn that much and then carry that over to Minnesota, where I feel like I just, kept doing the same little things that I was doing in San Francisco. And, sure enough, we were just winning games. And like you mentioned, throwing to Justin Jefferson doesn't hurt. Jordan Addison, former Trojan, that doesn't hurt either. So obviously we got a lot of other guys too, but it was a special year, but wouldn't have had, that on-field success without, the trials, tribulations that I kind of went through my first few years in the league. And that year that I got to kind of sit and just observe all that in San Francisco helped me a ton too.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We're going to have a question segment from our listeners, Sam, but I just want to bring up some of the questions when they're relevant to what we're talking about. De La Cruz said, he was asking more about the mental side of it. He said, how do you stay patient and confident enough to deliver on an opportunity like the one last season to play at your best?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is confidence. At the quarterback position, you can study as much as you want. You can know what the defense is doing inside and out. But if you don't have that swag, if you don't have that confidence when you're back there, and you don't fully believe that you can make every single play, then it's going to be a tough day for you. And for me, like I just mentioned, and that was a great segue for that question, Keely, because like it is all about kind of what I learned in the past. Whenever I was having a bad game, or maybe threw a few incompletions in a row, or threw an interception, or maybe even 2 interceptions in the first half. I just always felt like I kind of, without even realizing it, I kind of went into the tank a little bit early in my career. And rather than, I just realized, those couple of years in Carolina where I got hurt or wasn't playing because Baker was in there. I really got to sit back and watch and just say, dang, there's 10 other guys on the field that, have an impact on what we're doing. It's not just the quarterback. And I feel like as a young quarterback, you can always think, oh man, like we're not doing good as an offense because I'm not playing good. And I feel like that's kind of the trap that a lot of young quarterbacks get into, especially, for myself, when I was a young, even in high school, college, and early on in my career in the NFL, I felt like I was so, if the offense isn't doing good or we're not scoring points, it's all my fault. And I think there's a time and a place to do that. And I think it's Monday and Tuesday when you're watching the film and trying to get better that way.
Yeah.
But on Sunday, it's like, all right, like, things just aren't working out the way that they're supposed to. But that doesn't mean I'm not doing the right things. If I'm going to the right place with the ball in time, and I'm, if it's not there, I'm getting out of the pocket and just throwing the ball away. Sometimes throwing the ball away or throwing it into the dirt, and even taking a sack on like a third down. That's a way better play than trying to force the ball down the field if you're not certain what the coverage is, or you're not certain where the post safety is, all that stuff. So it's I think just mentally the confidence is what really allowed me to kind of take that next step. I'm not sure if I totally answered that question, but
that was great.
Yeah.
Well, I know Keely has one more follow up to that, but I think you brought up a great point too about losing that confidence on the field and on Sundays, and you said that perfectly about, hey, we'll figure that out on Monday and Tuesday, right? Don't let that affect you on Sunday or Saturdays. For the young quarterbacks at home and playing the position before and now getting to watch a lot of film on other quarterbacks, like you said, like I can tell when a guy starts losing his confidence because he starts becoming a little bit of gun shy, right? Like he doesn't throw the ball on time, hesitant to make those throws. Now, don't be reckless and just throw it to throw it, but that's what I love so much about you this year and watching your film from in college and now in the NFL and how well you played is like you didn't shy away when things weren't going right. You still threw with confidence and rhythm. You trusted your guys. You didn't put all that pressure on you, and you let the guys around you make the plays. And that's kind of something that we talked about this last year with Jade Mayava, who's the quarterback at USC right now, is just, when he trusts the guys around him and doesn't try to be Superman all the time and knows that it's okay to be Clark Kent and get the ball to some of these playmakers in space, that's when you can really excel, right? But then when you start getting hesitant and scared and not really sure where to go with the football and you're not throwing on time and you're holding the ball too long, that's when you can tell a guy loses confidence. So, no, I love that you said that, man. That's a great point. And I know Keely had a follow-up to that. But yeah, no, that was really well said.
Yeah, well, just building off of that, you were drafted 3rd overall. You talk about the mental side of things. You're a young kid, all things considered, and you're going to an organization that's putting, the future and hope on you, on your shoulders. How much is that on you as a young guy? Like, I'm sure that has to be a lot of weight to manage.
Yeah, I think when I was, that young, I got drafted when I was 20. I turned 21 before the season, but like, when I was I don't even think I realized how much pressure I should have had on my shoulders. And I really think, that naive, I guess, kind of mindset that I had when I was a young player really helped me at the end of the day. Like just being able to go out there and play free. I think that's the biggest thing. And I think, there's a time and a place for that too. Kind of like what you just talked about with Maeva, is like, if he goes out there and plays free, but doesn't play reckless, because as you know, like there's a fine line between
Yeah.
playing reckless and playing confident and playing free. So it's being able to hone that in, and really understanding like situational football from that aspect. But just going back to that, like the early days with the Jets, like I learned so much about myself, first and foremost, just as a young man growing into myself, because like a lot of people are still figuring themselves out in college at that point, and for me to be able to be in the NFL and try to figure things out at Mach speed, things are flying, and all of a sudden 6 months goes by, and all of a sudden the season's over, and and we didn't necessarily play our best football, all that stuff, and we only won like 4 games. I think we started that season 3-0, my rookie year, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome. I love this." And then all of a sudden, we lose like 10 straight or whatever it was. So, it's like, dude, the NFL just
It'll humble you, bro.
It'll humble you for sure, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
and that is what it is. And I don't think I realized that until later in my career, but I think just the ability as a young player, and I struggled with this more than anything, was just like situational football, like first and second down, just find a completion, know where your check down is, and that's it. And on third down, like understanding the same thing, like reading out the defense. Are they playing man? Are they playing zone? What's my check down going to be if they do spring a Tampa on me? And if I feel like I have space to be able to go get the first down and run, like feel it and go run. But yeah, I think it's pretty crazy. Looking back, I never made that excuse when I was that young of a player, but looking back, it was definitely an experience that honestly, like you just mentioned, it humbled me a lot. Not that I was ever cocky or arrogant or any of those things, but it definitely just humbled me in terms of, okay, I got to study, a lot more than what I think I need to do. And to be honest, I need to study a lot more than I did in college in terms of understanding the defense and all those schemes, and understanding what we do. I think that's a big part too, is a lot of young quarterbacks, including myself a few years ago, I would study so much what the defense is doing, and kind of lose track of like, okay, what are we doing on offense? What's our game plan? And I think that was a huge thing also that San Francisco helped me out with. I'm kind of rambling right now, but
No, dude, it's good stuff, bro.
We love this.
Like the stuff
ahead,
in San Francisco though, like with Kyle, like and with Greasy, with the Kubiaks, and with Brock and Brandon, all those guys in the quarterback room, like it was so much about what we were doing. It wasn't, we watched film on who we were playing, and we understood coverages and certain pressures that we needed to be ready for on third down. But it was so much about what are we doing and what are our checks? What gets us into those checks? And that was really the nuance of the game that I really loved to learn about, in more detail in San Francisco last year.
Well, and Keely, how familiar does that sound? I tell her all the time, and when we talk on the show, like how many games are within the game? Like when you play football, especially at the quarterback spot, like it's not just, okay, here's the game. Like it's first down, second and short, second and medium, second and long, third and 1 to 3, then third and 4 to 6. Like it's not just third down. Like, and I know a lot of people who watch football have played before, but when you play in the NFL at that high level, and even in college, like there's so many situational things that you don't even think about when you're watching at home that, and I tell her the call sheet is there's the shot period when you get, then there's 25 or plus 25, then you get to the plus 20, plus 15. There's 2-point conversion. There's so many different things that dictate play calling and what a defense does and what their tendencies are, that it's crazy. It's chess. Like there's so many games within a game. And I wasn't saying humble and the fact that you need to be humble, because we'll talk about in a second. Sam is probably one of the most laid back, chill people I've ever been around in a quarterback room. But I was saying it in the sense of,
County.
I went to Cleveland. I was the same. I played at SC, had a great junior year. Senior year, we go to the Pac-12 championship, did some things well. You go to the NFL and like, all right, I'm going to take what I did well in college and carry that over to the NFL. You learn very quickly that it's a whole different game, right? And then the jump from high school to college is crazy, but the jump from college to the NFL It's so hard to explain to people if you've never played, and especially at the quarterback spot. But I was humbled very quickly in Cleveland as well. And I actually played well my rookie year. We just could not find a way to get a win. And that's why I was so pumped for you this year, because it is so hard to win in the NFL week in
Right.
and week out, because teams are so good. That's why you see teams too, in Carolina, who struggled a little bit this year, but at the end of the year, they kind of found something. It's tough to even beat the lower level teams on a week to week basis, because there's so many good players. But no, I thought that was a great point, man. I'm glad you brought that up.
So for someone who obviously has not played in the NFL, you guys knew to a certain degree what you were going to face in the NFL from college, making that transition. What were you missing per se? Is it just there's so many layers to it that you didn't fully know?
Yeah, we like to talk about it a lot now, especially as quarterbacks. Just like when we watch, football on Saturday, Saturday night, before the game, we're sitting down, we're watching college football. Just starting with the hashes. I mean, the hashes are so much wider, and I feel like that allows you to play the RPO game a lot more. And that's what like Chip Kelly and those guys and Malzahn kind of found out, with when he was running it with those guys at Oregon, and then the Marshall dude at Auburn. Like, they were crushing dudes with that kind of offense, and it was because like the field is just so much wider in college, and it's almost, to a degree, it's almost like watching a whole different game, because and I will say, I feel like the refs are a little more lenient to call offensive linemen down the field in college, because it's so RPO heavy that like they're so used to seeing those linemen down the field when you're throwing it. And it's just I feel like it's the same game, obviously, and there's a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences. And again, to your point, Cody, like, it's pretty hard to explain, but it's just it's pretty different. Like, you get in those YY wings, and you have a lot more 12 personnel, where there's two tight ends on the field, and you're running the ball. You got guys like Kyle Juszczyk, our guy in Minnesota, CJ Ham at fullback. They're paving the way for these running backs, and if not, they're in protection, blocking guys, and running like 7-man play actions with guys running down the field. You got Jets and Jay running down the field. So, and granted, like, they do a lot of that same stuff in college, but most of the time they're getting five dudes out on the route every single time. They're almost I feel like a lot of colleges are in scat protection every single time, and the most people they have in protection, most of the time, unless they're checking a zero check, they have 6 guys in protection most of the time. And so it's fun to watch. I love watching college football on Saturdays, especially now that I've kind of gotten pretty far out from playing college. It's fun to see how the scheme is growing. That's why I love watching USC. I love watching what Lincoln does every Saturday, and how he's attacking these defenses. And on the flip side, to see how Coach D. Lynn, to see what he's doing on the defensive side of the ball, and trying to attack these offenses that are trying to do the same things. It feels like Brian Flores a little bit sometimes when I watch it. Our defensive coordinator in Minnesota, like, it almost seems like he's like drawing some stuff up in the dirt, and just getting guys coming from every direction. Bringing 4 this way, dropping the defensive end, because all these defensive linemen now are so athletic that like they could drop and play outside linebacker, at the same time. So it's really fascinating to watch the college game compared to the NFL game now, because I feel like there's a lot of similarities, but there's as many similarities as there's just as many differences in the games. I feel like.
Well, I was real quick off of that. I was telling, we did an episode this year when we played Michigan, Wink Martindale, that whole defensive scheme where Denton Lynn came from, and the double A gap looks and the radar looks, and there's guys standing everywhere. I tried to break it down the best I could, and we got an iPad and I could draw it, but it is so tough. And this just goes back to film study, but it's so tough. And at the NFL, it's pretty much every team. In college, it's a little less, but it's starting to become more similar, like Sam said. It's so tough as a quarterback to know who to identify as the mic and know who's coming and who's getting out. And then you'll have something that looks like cover 0, all out pressure, and then it ends up being a 2 invert look, and they drop 6, up front, and they only bring 3. It's unbelievable how much the game's evolving at the college level. And the other thing you said, and kind of back to your question, Keely, the thing that was crazy for me too was just the speed of the game changed. Like in college, there's dudes on the field. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot of great players. There's first round talent. There's good players, but it's far and few in between. When you get to the NFL, everyone is that good. If you're a starter, if you're playing, whether you're undrafted, seventh round, whatever it may be, and you're on the field on Sundays and you're playing, even some of the practice squad and backup guys, you are a dude. And it's tough when you go against 11 of them, right? You might play in college, you play a team, there's 2 or 3 on that side of the ball. We're like, all right, we call them red dot guys, where, the coach puts the laser pointer on them on Monday meetings saying, hey, this guy can disrupt the game plan. When they get in the NFL, there's 11 of them on the field every Sunday, so that's crazy. And then the last thing you said I thought was important is college, and Big Ten changes a little bit, but college, you're used to living in 11 personnel, right? You're in 3 wide majority of the game. You're also going quickly. When we were with Sark would just call play, would line up, hold up the sign, signal it, we'd go. NFL, almost every play has a check with me unless it's a protected play. So there is so much more that goes on between the ears from when the play ends to when you start the next play. It's crazy. But no, that's good stuff, man. That's great insight.
Yeah, I like also like just thinking about the college game. Like I almost feel like when I watch it, especially watching these last, the Final Four teams that were in that playoff, like I almost felt like every play they were looking at the sideline, faking to run a play, and then looking at the sideline.
Yeah,
and then the
those ghost
defense at the
plays.
same time was like checking another play, and instead of bringing
they
zero,
got the
they're just
headsets
playing
now
quarters.
too, bro. We didn't have them when we were there. Like they can check, and then instead of trying to panic signal, they look to the sideline. Like, yeah, they'll look, but coach will get on the mic and go, hey, let's check Tampa 2 here, or hey, let's check whatever you want to do on offense. It's cat and mouse.
It's such a cat and mouse game, and like also you just get like, I just feel like the coordinators are just like getting in this such a chess match that like the players are almost like, all right, dude, like, can we just call a play and run it?
Let's just
like,
go.
Can we just go? Let's just go. Because I remember when I was in college, that's when I played the best, was like when we were just like running tempo and just like rolling, and like I could either give it to Rojo and he's gonna bust it for 70, or I can take it and throw it to Tay in the slot, or Juju or Darius on the backside fade that he was on against a 5'10" corner, and he's just gonna go moss someone. So like when I was able to play fast with those RPOs in my pocket, like I felt like that's where I was like able to play so fast and free when I was in college. And to our point earlier, like not be able to think.
Yeah, well, my junior year was Sark, and I think that was the year before you got there, obviously. But my junior year, I mean, I threw, I think, 40 touchdowns and 4 picks that year. And I am man enough to say a big part of that was because of how Sark called the offense, right? He had me prepared Monday through Friday. I was locked in, or Sunday through Friday. I was locked in, ready for Saturdays. Saturdays were easy, but also I didn't have to think a ton, right? We would get up there, and I tell Keely this all the time when we do our preview episodes, is it's so much better on offense when you dictate what the defense is going to do and force them to keep up with you instead of trying to one-up them all the time and let them dictate what you're doing, right? And I know there's the cover zero looks and different things. Okay, we have a zone beater with a man defense right now. Like, this isn't going to work. I've got to check out of that. But if you go quick and you have a coach that always has an answer, even if it is zone, right? Oh, let's go railroad like we'd always run. But we know if it's zone, I'll throw the ball over the middle to a sit route instead of a wheel route. Like there's answers like that where you can play fast. Or you have a guy like Sam Darnold who's a dual threat who can take off and run. Like me and Sam, I should say, me being a dual threat. They could take off and break a 50-yarder.
Railroad. That was like my favorite play, and it's still one of my favorite plays to this day.
Third and 7 or less, call railroad. If I'm a coordinator one day, for those of you who don't know, railroad is the running back runs a wheel. You have a crossers that come across, but you're really not paying attention to the guy going away, but you have a crosser coming into your vision. So you go 1 to 2, and then you have someone sitting over the ball in the middle if it gets zoned, so you can read off of that. But yeah, no, it's bread and butter. Lincoln still runs it to this day. I don't know what they call it.
What were the other ones too? It was like fire and flame.
Yeah, fire and flame protection. Yeah, we're about to give away Sark's whole playbook right now.
Those were nutty though. Those were some of my favorite plays though too, because like to your point, dude, like you can just go pure progression with all of it.
Yeah,
and like those are my favorite plays. Even in the NFL, those are my favorite plays. Just go 1 to 2 to 3, no matter what the coverage is. I have my alert versus man if I want it, but or even like our play calls are so long now that it's like, all right, we have a pure progression for zone, and then if we get the man tell that we want, we can can or whatever we do at the line of scrimmage, and get to a man beater, and we're probably throwing it to 18, and if we got 3 on the other side, then we're probably throwing it to him too based on the matchup. So
yeah, Okay, well, Keely, I'm gonna go back to some high school stuff. Did you want to do any more NFL before we jump to that, or any other fan questions on that
Well,
topic?
first of all, I was about to say I always tease Cody for being a football
Oh,
nerd,
yeah.
even though I love it. We've gone full
Oh,
football nerd on this episode, and I
yeah,
love
we
it.
love
So
it.
thank you for being offensive nerds, both
You
of
get
you.
two quarterbacks on the same episode. We're gonna just go. I
In
know
the
we're
same
over
system.
here just yeah.
Yeah, we got to
Yeah.
add. We got to get Maddie Barks in here at
Oh
some
man,
Oh
point.
my
We got to
gosh.
get
yeah.
the three of us.
Hey, Matt
No,
Leinart
I'm just
said
kidding.
Leinart said he's gonna jump on too. So he'll be one of our
Oh my
next guests.
gosh.
We'll try to do a little roundtable maybe one day. Get all
Full
of us on. Get
quarterback
Carson
episode.
on too.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Sanchez is right down the street. Me and him can sit in the same room and do it. It'd be great.
Wow.
Oh yeah, it'd be awesome.
Sam, you don't know what you're starting here.
Yeah, no kidding. No, they're gonna be coming after you on your DMs on Instagram now, saying make sure you make that happen.
No.
Cody, I know you want to talk about Sam's illustrious high school career, so take it away.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, look, the NFL stuff, that was awesome. But this is the Victory Pod. This is USC. This is what we all love. We bleed Cardinal and gold. So I want to go back a little bit, before we get to the fan questions, but go back to high school, and just for some of the fans that don't know. And I really, like I said, when Sam got to SC, like I love Sam. I did. I'm a senior. I'm focused on, preparing that year and getting ready to go to the NFL and do all those things. So I'm kind of locked in and in my own lane. But no, I remember when Sam got there, man, we hit it off. He was a great kid. I love being around him, great teammate. But I didn't know this at the time. I do now. So you played linebacker and wide receiver in high school, correct? And you went to San Clemente before now you hooped a little bit too. So we'll talk about that maybe on another episode.
Yeah.
But so you played linebacker and wide receiver. You had one of the quarterbacks got hurt, so you had to play quarterback one game, and then you ultimately took over that spot. And then Justin Wilcox, who was USC's defensive coordinator, recruited you as a linebacker, correct? At USC?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I'll let
tell
you. You can tell it better. So yeah, well, basically, question is when did you really switch to quarterback and know that's what you wanted to do? And then what led you to picking USC ultimately to become a quarterback here?
Yeah. So I started playing football in third grade, tackle football in third grade, and I played quarterback right from the jump. And I had played quarterback and linebacker throughout my entire Pop Warner career, I guess.
Yeah.
But all of Pop Warner, I played quarterback and linebacker. Played a little bit of tight end, and then in high school, my freshman year, I played on the freshman team. I played quarterback and Mike linebacker, and then sophomore year, I wanted to play varsity, and the coach wanted me to play varsity, but knew I wouldn't be able to get on the field as playing quarterback because there was a senior that had been kind of waiting his turn, and he had proven that he was a good player. So I ended up playing like receiver / tight end, and outside linebacker in a 3-4 scheme, my sophomore year of high school. And so that's kind of how I started. And you can imagine too, like at San Clemente, like we're playing like Mission Viejo, La Costa Canyon, like all these big time programs. And they got a bunch of, God rest his soul, like Max Turks blocking me. And I'm like I'm like 6'3", 195, like trying to deal with this like 300-pound left tackle who's going to freaking UCLA. And I'm just like, dude, what am I doing out here? And I'm like trying to dodge and weave. All of a sudden there's like 2 C gaps now. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like you could run a Mack truck through it. So that was just, I knew that I either had to put on weight or just, stick with the offensive side of the ball. And so I ended up playing those 2 positions, linebacker and receiver, my sophomore year. Played like I think it was 7 or 8 games, and the last 2 or 3 games I ended up playing quarterback because our senior ended up getting hurt. And so I ended up playing really well those last couple games, and then I just played quarterback my junior and senior year. So
what led you to USC? I mean, so Wilcox recruited you, obviously. So I know Sam's very humble guy, so he's not going to say it. Now you had to have played linebacker pretty well for USC to come recruit you at the linebacker spot.
Well, yeah.
No,
So my freshman year, like I said, I actually meant to mention this. I forgot, but like my freshman year, I played on the freshman team, and I got brought up for CIF because our varsity team was really, really good. The starting quarterback was Travis Wilson. He went to Utah. We had a couple linemen that were being recruited by USC, Sean Harlow and Kyle Murphy. Kyle went to Stanford. Sean ended up going somewhere else as well. But and so I think Justin Wilcox and I think at the time Coach O were down in SoCal recruiting me, or not recruiting me, but just checking out some of the seniors that were still undecided, and mostly the linemen. And I just remember like going through the bag doing drills like a dumb freshman in high school, like just doing the drills and doing whatever coach told me to do. And then all of a sudden I'm like seeing Coach O like with his little camcorder just like right in front of me, like as I'm doing like this linebacker
Oh,
drill. I'm like, what is he doing? And like I was just like, maybe he thinks I'm someone else. I don't know. And then after practice, our coach came up to me. He was like, hey, like Coach O and Wilcox over there at USC are like pretty interested in you at linebacker or whatever, da da da. And I'm like, no way, dude. Like I don't believe you. And but anyways, yeah, that was as far as the story went. Like he was just recording me on his little camcorder. I'm not sure if he still has the tape. I think that'd be pretty sweet if he did. But
yeah.
yeah, I'll never forget Coach O like getting down in the power stance, recording with his little camcorder. Me doing like a linebacker like shuffle through the bags kind of drill, and yeah, it was something I'll never forget. And but yeah, that's the story. I know there's like a lot of different versions out there on the internet, so it was good to clear the air on that one.
Okay, good. Well, so then fast forward now. So what led to, were there some other schools you were interested in looking at? What ultimately led you? And,
Yeah,
obviously we can't talk too much recruiting here, but maybe a little pitch to some of the, young quarterbacks or players out there that want to come to USC. What really
yeah,
led you to making that decision to become a Trojan?
yeah. So I loved watching USC growing up. I'm sure you were the same way. Watching Carson, Maddie light it up during the heydays, and obviously Reggie Lendale, Dwayne Jarrett, Steve Smith, all those guys. You can go down the list. All the defensive guys too, like all the linebackers, all the defensive ends, like just everyone that came through USC. It was such a powerhouse, and I had such a fun time watching it growing up. So and we had season tickets too. My dad's cousin had season tickets, and so we would always be able to go to one game during the season, and that was like I always marked it on the calendar like that. Like I could not wait for that day to go to the Coliseum, even though we were up in the nosebleeds. It was like my favorite time of the year. And so yeah, I'm getting recruited. After my sophomore year, what I just talked about, playing receiver and linebacker, and then I played those couple games at quarterback. Utah, University of Utah, actually had offered me right after that. That sophomore season, which was like the first team to really first program to give me an offer. But deep down, I always wanted to go to USC. So, and USC didn't offer me till late. But so I'm going through the process, and I played 2 games my junior year, then break my foot during the third game my junior year. And as you know, as a quarterback in high school, like that's the year you send out your tape, and usually after your junior year, you're committed. You already know where you're going. And for me, like I had to do some work. So as you know, like we love playing basketball. I loved playing basketball in high school. And the last thing I wanted to do was go to like quarterback camps in the summer and have to do like 7-on-7 and all those things. And, I knew that there was an Elite 11 camp in Oakland. And I knew it was like a long shot for me to make the Elite 11. And at the time, this was like one of the first couple of years they were doing the opening. And I was like, I don't know if there's a shot that I'll make the opening, but I'm willing to go to Oakland and like try to get my name out there for recruiting purposes. So I go out there, and sure enough, I get invited to go to the Elite 11. And I swear it was like right after I got the invite on Elite 11, I get like 10 offers, like within the next like 2 or 3 days. Um, and because those are like great coaches out there. Obviously, you got Dilfer, Palmer, all those guys that are out there. Like they know ball, and I feel like a lot of college coaches trust them. And so I got some offers right away after that, and that's when things really picked up picked up some speed for me, in recruiting. And it wasn't till I think USC might have been my last offer. And
Dude.
I was on a recruiting trip, and I was like making my way. I went to Duke, Northwestern, Oregon, and then as I was coming into LAX, I forget who ended up reaching out to me, but someone told me to come down to USC because they were doing like a middle school camp, and but they wanted to come see me throw, so they'll just like have me like just throw on the side so that Sark and Clay could watch me throw. And yeah, just threw for about 30, 40 minutes and went up to Sark's office and he offered me there on the spot. And that was something I'll never forget. And I didn't commit on the spot. I was like, which I'm pretty proud of to be able to, have the wherewithal to be like, no, you know what? I need to, digest this information and go home and think about it, weigh the pros and cons of kind of where I want to go. And at the end of the day, it was a no-brainer. I should have committed on the
There it
spot
is.
to USC, but
There we go. I was going to say, you saved yourself there saying you didn't commit on the spot and you're proud, but no-brainer comment saved you right there.
It was a no-brainer, no doubt. It was.
Yeah, there you
go. I had to do my due diligence though as a
good,
kid making that big decision, and it was a no-brainer though, just being so close to home. I think the biggest thing too for me, like obviously, being able to play great football, had those conversations with Sark and Clay about playing in a really good scheme with really good players. That was a big part of it for me. But I think one of the biggest parts, and I try to tell guys this all the time that are trying to figure out where to go, and USC's high on their list. I'm like, it's really, really hard to tell people how deep the Trojan family is when you're done playing. And in terms of networking and all those things that come after football, when you got to find a real job, I don't think there's anything, at least, because I'm from Southern California, and I don't, I can't drive anywhere without seeing a USC flag hanging up on someone's house. And it's a pretty special place to go to school, obviously. Really, really great people, really great relationships that I built, not only with my teammates and coaches, but with a lot of the classmates that I still talk to this day. And those are connections that I'll have for the rest of my life. Not that I even think about them as connections, those are just relationships that I built. And, that's something that, it's tough. It's tough to sell a high school kid on. But those are the things that, with, parents and certain people, like, they will understand, how important that is, in terms of like where you want to go to school. Cause I think, being able to, how easy it is to get a job, not easy, but how easy USC can possibly make that. Cause it's a tough, I mean, I haven't experienced it, but I know a lot of friends that, made the jump right after college to try to work in the real world, and it's tough, man. And USC just makes it that much more of an easy jump.
Well, and it's tough too nowadays with NIL, to sell them that. And I'm glad you said that, Sam, too, because that's so important. Like, people don't understand that. And we always try to explain on this show, and obviously we're biased, but the definition of the Trojan family. And that's so true, just the connections that you make. And I'm kind of a proof of that. I got done playing and retired and had some opportunities to keep playing, but I walked away and I was done and wanted to take that next step in life. And, was thinking about coaching, thinking about doing broadcast. I actually sat down with Mark Sanchez at a coaching event. He was out there doing some kind of preseason work to get ready for his broadcasting year. And he told me to look into broadcasting. My agent made a call to USC, and that next Saturday, obviously doing stuff with Keely, that next Saturday, they had me on and said, hey, let's come out here, watch this, and let's, this year try some stuff out, and it was a no-brainer. And they just, helped me out right away. But, and I know Keely had another question, but dude, I thought it was so funny. It kind of gave me the chills a little bit, Sam talking. I think that's why we got along so well, just how similar our story is, dude. I mean, both played basketball in high school. My junior year, I tore a ligament in my ankle. I think week 4 or 5. I missed the rest of that season. I was freaking out about offers, and I had a couple at the time, but nothing huge. But I was freaking out about, okay, junior year is a year that, you get those big offers and you figure everything out. And now I'm missing the entire camp circuit. Well, the day that I got offered was the day that I went to by USC. They were one of the later offers for me. Was the day I went to the Elite 11 regional. The same kind of thing there. And then I got invited to the finals, got invited to the Army game, and then after that Elite 11 or the Army offer to go play in the Army Bowl, then UCLA comes in late and I get 5 or 6 more offers. And then, like you said, it was a no-brainer to go to SC, man. But it's just cool. It's cool to hear that. And it's a cool pitch. I think that's important for parents who have kids growing up and are going to be recruited to not really just solely focus on the NIL. I know the money's important. I'm not going to tell someone how to go through the process, but it's good to hear from you and other, former quarterbacks that went through it before all of that, because building those relationships and those connections for later on in life are just as important of signing a big NIL deal. So that was very well said, and I'm glad you said that.
Well, you mentioned the Trojan family, and I had a question because Cody has talked about it a lot too. what is it like seeing a Trojan or playing with a Trojan in the NFL, and also the supposed quarterback fraternity that there is when you're a USC quarterback? What's that like as well?
Yeah. Well, we're getting all the quarterbacks on here, right? I mean, that
Yeah.
was part of the deal, right? So, yeah, it'll be an all ball special, and it'll last about 5 hours. It'll be
Way
great.
too long. Yeah, Keely's gonna
Yeah.
have so much fun editing that episode.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
We got to get the board out too. We'll talk about railroad all day.
There we go.
No, but it was, yeah, just like being able to play with some of the guys that I played with. Obviously, that's special. Whenever, I was with Chuma for a little bit, with the Jets. That was the one that I can really remember. I was actually with Deontay my rookie year for a little bit as well. He had a sweet little catch right over Kyle Fuller from the Bears, and he was rolling at the time, Fuller, and I just like kind of threw it up to him, underthrew him, and just Tay his skinny butt went up there and just freaking mossed him, and I was like, let's go, Tay. But no, it's special, man. Whenever you can, the relationships that you build in college, as you know, Cody, like they're they're just so unique and they're so special. And it's just so genuine, I think is the word that I'm looking for. Like, it's just pure, like we're just all having a good time. We're going to go play football, and, whether we win or lose, like as long as we, play together and have fun, like that's literally all that matters. And so when you get to play with those guys again and in the NFL, like you kind of get a sense of that a little bit. And that's just kind of my experience playing with those guys in the NFL. And then obviously, yeah, just seeing some of the guys that I played with, like Cam Smith, for example. Like I hang out with Cam Smith during the off season as much as I can, and he's grinding right now. He's doing his thing, trying to make it in the real world, and I know he is, and he's going to crush it. I always knew that he would, and it's just fun, man, to see people move on and move on from the game and not miss a beat. I think that's the coolest thing for me, is just to see my friends, my buddies, just be like adults. I think it's like kind of
it's
crazy.
Weird. Everyone's. I mean, I got a kid now. Everyone's having families.
Yeah,
is,
Cody's
man.
Cody's got a little kid. That's wild.
Yeah, it is. He was
no,
on. I brought him on pre-show. I showed Sam, and obviously we're not having him on camera, but it's cool. And that's cool for me. Like me and Sam, obviously I was senior, he was a freshman. We overlapped, getting him, like showing my son and saying, hey, there's Uncle Sam, and talking to him a little bit. It's surreal. But we talked about the similarities in high school. I want to talk a little bit more about when you got to USC. We kind of had a similar situation as well, right? So we both redshirt. I waited one more year because Barkley ended up staying, but that following year after you redshirt, I go to the NFL. Then you're kind of having to split reps with Max Brown, right? I did the same thing with Max Wittick. We were splitting reps, going through the entire offseason. Who's the one? Who's the two? Then it went into the season a little bit where, I started a little bit. Then we switched at halftime. You and Max kind of split reps. So I just want to know from your point of view, and I've talked about before what it was like for me, but I'm just curious. And I don't think we've talked about this a ton. I'm talking about, me and you, but what was that experience like for you, competing with Max, but also, being teammates, but wanting to win the starting job? And then when it goes into season, how difficult was it, your first start against Utah a couple games in, to know, okay, this is my opportunity to become the starter, but I'm still kind of in a quarterback competition 4 games into the year?
Yeah, it was interesting, right? Because like when you were starting, Max and I were like super close. Still are super close. Haven't lost that relationship at all, but it was just, when you're in a quarterback competition, especially in college, like, we're both, for the most, like, Max was obviously a little bit older than me. But for me, like, both of us, like we're immature, young players just trying to like make it as college football players. And so we both wanted so bad to succeed. And you can't succeed without winning the starting job. And so it was a weird dynamic, in my eyes, and Max and I have actually talked about this, but it was like, cause we partied together at USC my true freshman year. He would invite me out with the boys and hang out, at Old Mansion, all those things. And shout out Old Mansion. But no, it was so fun to be able to like have an older player on the team like really accept me and allow me to like come hang out with him and all the guys. And that really allowed me to like feel like I could be myself around all the guys in the locker room and all those things. So Max was always great to me, especially when I first got there. And then obviously, the competition happens, and it's like, all right, like they call it a competition for a reason. Like things are going to get kind of weird sometimes. And I'm sure you had a similar situation with Whittick. Like, it's dog eat dog. Like at the end of the day, like you're trying to win the reps, and I know he's trying to win his reps, but at the end of the day, like the coaches have to make that decision. So like I
Yeah.
never felt like it was that awkward between Max and I. He might have felt a different way, but I always felt like we were just going to go ball out in practice and in fall camp. And obviously he won the job, and I was truly there to support him any way that I could throughout the season. Watch any tape that I could to help the team out. That was truly my mindset. And then obviously, they put together like some red zone packages for me, some third down, short yardage packages for me, like going into the Bama game, Max's first start. And I'm like, okay, this is, it's kind of like you're tippy toeing a little bit,
Yeah.
dipping your toe in the water, seeing what I can do already, and it was just kind of like a weird, like vibe, even like that practice leading up to Bama. Like I'm going in there getting reps, and because I've been there before, with Cam Newton came to Carolina. He came back to Carolina, and we ended up having to split some time, and they would put him in, and we'd split that time in the league, and that was like crazy for me, to have to deal with that experience. And even Cam, like I think he's a great dude. Loved him as a teammate, and so like you can never, during those quarterback competitions, it's never personal. It's always, the coaches have to make this decision, and whatever they feel like is going to be best for the team, they're going to do it. And so that was my mindset also going into that Utah game when I found out that I was going to be the starter. I was like, I'm just going to, play football. I didn't really ever, and again, this is kind of me going back to being a little naive maybe, but I never really put that much pressure on myself to go and play good. I just wanted to play good football because I love doing it. That was really the only thing. And because I love the dudes that I played with. That was really the only reason I wanted to play good football, and it's still true to this day. And so, yeah. And then, after I got the start, we obviously lost against Utah in a nail biter, but I don't think we lost again the rest of the season. So that was a really, really crazy year. I feel like it all happened in slow motion, but it all happened so fast at the same time. So it was definitely an interesting time in my life, but a very important time in my life. And again, I think it's, being benched for Max, or not getting the job, I should say, getting named as the backup. That was just kind of another blimp in the road, or bump in the road, I guess I should say. And, just felt like that just lit a little more fire under my butt to be able to push myself that much more.
Yeah, and it's you said it great. It's a weird dynamic, for people who've never been there, and especially in a quarterback competition, because there's only one on the field. If you're in a wide receiver competition, you're different packages, you're going to rotate. As a quarterback, you're the only one, and you said it best. Like me and Max Whittick, and I still to this day, I love Max. I have nothing against him, but we were so close those first 2 years, right, and hung out all the time, and went out together all the time, and went to the 9-0 and did all those things and had a great time. But as soon as Barkley left, and I was second string the first year, and then he beat me out the second year, and then I was third string, and Whittick was second. When Barkley left, and it kind of got, it ramped up a little bit. It was a weird dynamic. It's tough to you lose a little bit of that relationship. You still love the guy, and you're still teammates, and you want what's best for the team. But it being in those quarterback competitions, especially the ones that go into season, those are difficult. So, it's good to hear. I've like I said, I've lived it before. It's great to hear kind of your point of view and your perspective on it. But that's the business that we're in. And in NFL, it's even more that, right? They're always trying to find your replacement. You've got to continue to compete, and year in and year out, it's going to be, tough to keep that job and excel at the highest level.
I'm curious, Sam, if you remember what the vibe was like post Utah loss that year, because it was interesting because obviously it was an unfortunate loss. It was your first start, but it felt like, covering the team, you guys felt a sense of confidence, like this was going to be the last loss of the season. Do you remember what that time was like and transitioning into that starting role full time?
I just remember like we moved the football. We were able to, run some more read option stuff where I was able to keep it, and I think actually I had a rushing touchdown for like 15 yards. I think that might have been the first touchdown of the game. And it was it was just kind of like the kind of what we were just talking about like just going fast. We were able to go fast and kind of spark some momentum and get some yardage and get some really some explosive plays on the call sheet. And it was yeah, I felt like personally, and again, this is just me playing, but like I felt like we were just moving the ball and scoring points, and that's all that the team really wanted to see. And that was the mindset that I had, was I'm just gonna go. And again, like, these things are happening so fast, and I'm just going through my reads, put the ball wherever I need to put it, and if something's not there, I'm just going to run around and make a play. That was kind of my mindset when I was a young player. And it was able to work out because of the great players that I had around me. And that was another reason that we had so much confidence, Keely, was because of the guys that we had. We had so much talent on that team. And we knew it was just a matter of time before we got going. And it wasn't just obviously the flashy names. You have Adoree, you have Rojo, you have Juju, Darius, Deontay. I don't think Deontay at the time was a household name, but he was for sure at the end of the season. And then you had the guys on defense, but like those offensive linemen, like those dudes, they were the ones that were carrying us. To see what they were able to do with the run game and with the pass pro and how they just kind of put it together. It was a special group and a special offense because of those guys up front. For sure.
That's a true quarterback right there. I mean, the linemen aren't even blocking for him anymore, and he's still shouting them out now. What 8 years later? That's a true quarterback right there. No, it's good. It's true though. They don't get enough
true.
love.
Like, it is true, man. Like, and you had that guy in the center. You had Nico Follow that was running the show at the center. He was so smart and was able to kind of tell everyone what to do and get everyone set. And then you had Chad Wheeler at left tackle, you had Damian at left guard, you had Vianney at right guard, and then you had Zach Banner at right tackle. Like, those are some big freaking dudes to be able to run the rock.
That was a young group. That was Nico's first year playing center, right? Because I don't think he played. Yeah, because we had obviously Turk, rest in peace. He got hurt senior, and I think Toa played a little bit of center that year. But that was Nico. I think Nico played a little bit because we had like 3 centers go down. But yeah, that's great too. I mean, that was Nico's first year playing center.
Nico had that quiet confidence too.
Yeah, man. He was funny. He was funny to be around. Yeah, that dry humor, man. He was. Yeah, shout out Nico. But all right, so that that Utah game happened. Obviously, something switched for you guys, and it was, I think, like you said, just kind of, I hate to say like waking up the beast and being cliche, but it was like, all right, we've got some dudes. We know what we're capable of. We've seen flashes of it. Now we just got to go do it, right? So let's fast forward. The rest of the season goes well. You get to the Rose Bowl game. I know everyone wants to hear that story, and I know you've probably told it 1,000 times. It probably never gets old, but just take us through that day, right? Take us through that night. Just a little bit of and I know you're always calm, cool, and collected, and you probably don't realize what happened until after it happened, but playing in that game that's going to go down in history as one of the best in USC. Just what was that pregame like? What was that during the game? That final kick there at the end, and then afterwards in the locker room, just kind of how that whole process went through in the mind of the quarterback, throughout that whole thing.
Dude, so I played before in the Rose Bowl. That same year we played UCLA, and I don't think UCLA was very good. And the crowd was pretty lackluster. Like, it wasn't anything like crazy. I knew the Rose Bowl was an outstanding stadium and a great place to play, historic place. And I just, remember going to the UCLA game, and, I think we were down maybe 3 points, and I was like, all right, we're going to find a way to win. We ended up finding a way to win. But I was like, I walked away. I was like, dang, like, I wish that place would have got going a little bit more. And then fast forward, sure enough, I don't think very long after that, we get to the Rose Bowl, and it's like 60-40, maybe 55-45 USC to Penn State fans. Like, it was unbelievable. And all the Penn State fans were wearing white. All the USC fans were in their cardinal and gold. And just to walk out there, even pregame, it was unlike anything else. And the Rose Bowl, like, they set it up perfectly, like the sun setting in the back as you're warming up. By the time the game starts, the lights are on. It was just an unbelievable experience. I remember, actually, a vivid memory that I have. I remember warming up, and I'm just throwing the ball, warming up, and I see Kirk Herbstreit right behind me. And at the time, I was, and I still, I idolize Kirk just with what he's done with college football, and he's just an unbelievable persona just to be around. And I've always thought he was a legend just because he's called so many college games, not only for myself, but in the past when he was calling USC games. And anyways, so he's like right behind me, and I'm like, dude, I'm going to freaking spin the crap out of the ball right now for Kirk. Like, I'm going to give him everything I got. Like, it's the little things that you don't think about when you're like, at my
like,
age
why am I
now,
thinking about this
at my age now, I'm like, all right, like whoever,
I'm trying to
like
impress Kirk Herbstreit.
Tom Brady's behind me. Like, I'm not going to like try to spin the ball. I'm just going to try to like warm up and get my arm going. But when I was in college, I was like, dude, I'm going to rip this thing for Kirk. Like, I remember just like ripping the ball. And that was like a vivid memory that I had for pregame. And then just the whole, like the warm up and everything and the flyover was incredible. But the main memories are kind of from the game for me. And just the way that we got out to such a fast start. We were like, all right, this is going to be a good game for us. And I remember like being very, very nervous for that game. That was like the first game that I had really like a ton of nerves going into. And I think I dirted my first pass to Juju on like a 12-yard curl route, like one of the easier passes to complete. And I was like, dang, like I got to settle in here. And I just took a couple deep breaths, and I was good after throwing the touchdown to Tay over the middle. But I remember we jumped out to a lead. All of a sudden they came back. Not only did they come back, I think they jumped out to a lead, like a 14, 17-point lead. And Saquon went for his crazy run. Shout out to Cam Smith again. Got juked out of his shoes on that one. But
I was about to say, where are you going with that?
Yeah. But no, Saquon had a heck of a game towards like the middle. It was like second quarter, or not second quarter, because we were up at halftime, but like third quarter, kind of bleeding into the fourth. And then that's when we started kind of coming back. Because we were down quite a bit. We just get one touchdown. I throw a little, a glance route to Juju in the back right corner, and all of a sudden I think our defense gets a couple stops, which were huge. Michael Hutchings, who was actually coaching on our staff in Minnesota this year with Flores, got a huge stop. Stop Saquon, and that was, I think, one of the plays that kind of solidified the game for us and gave our defense enough confidence to go out there and make the plays they made against Trace, at the end of the game. And, and for me to be able to, lead the team down a little bit on, it was that game tying drive. It was, I think I completed a pass to Juju that was intended for Tyler Petit. On the same play that we ran in the first play of the game when I dirted it to him. We ran like it was a version of Hank, Cody. So like tight end sitting over the ball, and you get two curl routes and some flats.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like scrambling and just kind of float one up to Tyler. And I think Tyler may have like tipped it or touched it, but it got completed to Juju over the middle. And I was like, all right, we're living right now. We're good.
Yeah.
And so that was that was, I think. And then we get a couple good runs to Rojo. I forget the exact sequencing of the plays, but and then that set up the touchdown to Deontay. That kind of sealed the deal. And he wasn't even supposed to run the route that he ran. He was supposed to run a basic, which is just a 12-yard in cut.
Yeah.
And he
improvised. Oh my God, I never knew that. So he improvised and pushed the middle.
Yeah.
And just went over the mic on that two look. Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
So he saw the shell, and because I saw the grass too, like me and him were like on that same page, and I was like, that's where like that pump, you see me like kind of pump.
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh, I thought you were gonna go there, and then you did, and then I threw it because like I saw the grass, and I think my pump kind of helped him like kind of get to that area, because I was like, dude, like go, like he saw my eyes like light up, I think, and I just was able to feel that. As a quarterback, when you're back there, sometimes you just need to feel grass.
Yeah.
And I just felt that grass right over that linebacker and put it in a spot to where Tay could come down with it. And that was still one of the crazier plays that I've ever been a part of. And I think, going for two, and we had to go for one or two on that. I don't even remember. I blacked out the rest of the game, but
Yeah, we actually got a listener question about that. You went for the PAT afterwards, but he noticed that apparently in the game film you wanted to go for 2. Is that true, Sam? And if you did want to go for 2, what play would you have run?
Oh man, I don't remember what play we would have ran. Probably would have been a rub route to Tay, but or Juju, one of the two. But teams like to double Juju down there. So no, I was running down, and because I know I had talked to Coach Helton, or one of the coaches before the drive. He was like, if it's late in the 2-minute drive, and we only have, if it's like under 30 or under 20 seconds, like we'll go for 2. But if there's enough time, if for whatever reason, like if there's enough time for them to make a 2-minute drive, we're just going to go for 1 and tie it. I think that was kind of the mindset on that. And yeah, the 2-point play, it would have been, either a rub to Tay, rub route to Juju, or we would have had Darius one-on-one, in the as the X, or the singled up receiver, and I probably just would have thrown him a fade.
Dude, I'm football nerding out right now too. I did not know that was a basic call to Tay, and then he just saw green grass. And you like, for those of you listening at home too, I mean, go back and watch that. I got to go back and watch it again too. But to be on the same page in that moment and that type of atmosphere, it's unbelievable, And I had that with Nelson Aguilar when I was here. Marquise Lee a little bit, Juju my senior year. It's just the amount of trust and effort and time and throwing, in practice and after practice and all the things that have to go into just that one simple play of being on the same page to go out there and win the Rose Bowl or tie it and give yourself a chance to win. It is unbelievable. So that's cool, man. That's great insight. And I flash back to the Stanford game, right? We ran that play where Marquise Lee caught the slant on 4th and 2, and we're playing them in the Coliseum on game day, and they're top 4 in the country. We basically drew that play in the dirt on the sideline. It was supposed to be, okay, motions across, runs and out. Motion across, runs and out. We ran it 3 times on 3rd and short. When we get in there, they're going cover 1 with the whole player. Love him to death, but Marcus Martin snapped it low left, and it wasn't, obviously you want to catch it in the chest, but it going low left, it forced the mic to jump just a little bit over because he saw the snap go that way. And I didn't even have to hold him. I just picked it up and threw it. But it's just crazy stories like that and those tiny, and that you never think about from the outside looking in. So that's great perspective. Keely, I don't know if you have any more football questions. I know maybe any other games or any other fan questions that we have, but I had one more for Sam, but I don't want to jump too far ahead if we have any other football.
No, go for it, Cody. What were you going to ask?
Well, my thing is, and obviously we talked about the quarterback fraternity here at USC and just all the great names that came before us, and you want to live up to those expectations, and you want to be that next big time name and leave your legacy at USC. We've got an interesting battle this year at USC, right? With Jaden Maiava, who started the end of the season, played well, had some things he could have worked on, but then we've got a freshman coming in, a 5-star, Hassan Longstreet, who's coming from Corona, 2 very good players. He's a younger guy, and Maiava is still a younger player too, but kind of our similar situation. So I just want to hear kind of your perspective and your advice to them going into this competition, but also what it takes, to really be that big time quarterback at USC and all the effort and all the time, and just kind of the best advice that you would give both, Maiava and Longstreet going into this season and going into that competition with all the pressure on both of them.
Yeah, I would say first and foremost, be yourself in any situation. Just continue to be yourself, be the person that brought you to this point. The other thing is have a ton of respect for who you're competing against. Obviously defense, but the other quarterback that you're competing against, have a ton of respect for him. And, if he, and make each other better. I think that's the biggest thing too, that gets lost a lot in the quarterback competitions is like, guys don't want to help each other. And that drives me insane. Like that was one of the things that even, when we signed Baker in Carolina, Baker's like still one of my better friends to this day, because we spent so much time together, like learning the offense and just going over like formations, concepts, all those things. And even getting to know one another, like during the season. So like, just respect one another and help each other get better, because that'll only make you grow as a quarterback. And that, I don't want to overcomplicate anything, but those would be the only few things that I have for them.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Okay, I actually have a couple questions. I'm sorry. The
Yeah, Keely can't help
2017.
us. I was waiting. I was waiting for Keely to jump in on some of the recruiting stuff. Like I wanted to hear Keely's notes on Sam as a linebacker. Or maybe
Oh
did
my
you have him as a
goodness.
4-star? Or, I was waiting for the
Oh yeah, I would
247
love to
report
see the
there.
2-4. I would love to see the
Was Keely out
247.
there and down
No, I
on
was
one knee
not.
doing the recording
No,
Sam
No.
doing linebacker drills?
I
absolutely not.
definitely
No,
was
I
not.
wasn't.
I
I
was
was
still
not good enough. I was not good enough for Keely. All right.
No, well, I was also a student, so I didn't do recruiting at that point. But I did cover you for your whole
Okay,
time
fair.
at USC, Sam. So that was pretty cool to see. The 2017 season. What do you make of the double overtime Texas game? What do you remember about that?
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, that was crazy. I remember. I remember. Not the bad parts in the first half. I don't remember any of the bad plays that I made in the first
There
half,
you go.
but I just remember it being so sloppy. It was so sloppy and I feel like our defense really won that game for us. It was sloppy on the offensive side of the football, just not playing as good as I could have played. And guys would say this on the offensive side. I feel like a lot of guys didn't play as good as we normally would or up to our standard. And then at the end of the day, we just did enough to win. And that's really all that matters. But I remember that late throw down the middle to Stephen Carr. We called it was like a 4 verts with Stephen attacking the mic because we knew they were either going to play like a 2-man or like a 2 Tampa. And so we knew it would be split shell or split safety, and we just basically told everyone to go. Another one, Cody, you kind of just draw in the dirt.
Yeah.
And we had 4 verts on, and we're like, hey, Steven, just beat the mic and just run down the middle of the field. And so scat protection to our point. And Texas defensive coordinator at the time, I don't know, whoever was on the Herman staff, but he dialed up a good pressure, and I was hot. And so that's why I ended up having to climb the pocket and kind of jump throw it to Steven down the middle, which ended up leading for the game tying field goal that put us into overtime. But that was one of the vivid memories that I had from that game. But that was a wild game. And honestly, I don't really remember a ton from that game just because it was so sloppy as we were so sloppy as an offense. Those are the ones that you kind of try to block out as a quarterback, but we ended up getting the job done. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I see, and that just goes to show how humble Sam is. He leads a game-winning drive in in that type of situation. He's like, yeah, I played terrible, but we still won. But and for those of you who don't know, we try to give a little insight. Scat protection, when we keep saying that's 5-man protection. That means the running back's getting out. It's basically man-to-man up front, 5 offensive linemen. You have no running back help anyone else in protection. But yeah, no, that's good. I'm good there though, Keely. I know we have a lot of fan questions as well. That was unbelievable insight. We can kind of rapid fire through some of these. I know Sam's got a schedule right now. I gotta get back to being a dad. We don't want to keep the man too long, but seriously, Sam, we appreciate you jumping on the show, telling those stories, man. Those are so cool. It's just for me, and I told you, I'm a football nerd. I know all of us quarterbacks are. I geek out the entire time, hearing that Rose Bowl story. I can't wait to tell people now about, or even hopefully Keely and I can do a little film breakdown of that play and just how that worked out. We thought I thought it was a cover 2 bender the whole time to Tay. And that was just a perfectly designed call. And we had verts and we had a cover 2 bender. But the fact that it was improvised and just little insights like that are just so cool. A lot of great advice to those guys.
Another little thing on that play that I think people would love was the reason. So Tay started breaking in and he saw the mic just sitting there.
Yeah.
And so he made eye contact with me.
I feel like I remember. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
And so I was like, yeah, definitely don't go there, but go there. And he just kind of, he made eye contact with me and just kept his speed. And again, I think I credit this to a lot of basketball that I played with Tay at the Line Center. We're always on the same page there too.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Okay,
so cool,
I have one more question. I'm sorry before we get into listener questions.
Keely can't help it. Yeah, let's go.
I'm
Keely,
sorry.
No,
Pro
good,
Day in the rain. That was insane, Sam. What do you make of that in hindsight? How do you view that?
Yeah, I was just the same thing as feel like I've told all these stories. We knew it was supposed to rain. So all I cared about was having good footballs out there. And I felt confident enough because we had plenty of rain sessions when I was training with Jordan Palmer down here in Orange County, to where I could feel confident spinning it in the rain. and at the end of the day, like, it was just about doing everything that I just knowing the script, knowing how we were going to do things, and that's like the easiest football can ever be, right? There's like no rush. You're just doing fakes to nobody and throwing it to guys on the sideline. So, but with the rain element, that definitely the element of rain was definitely it was tough, and there were a couple balls that it didn't look like it, but there were a couple balls that got away from me a little bit, and but it was. Yeah, that was a crazy experience. I almost forgot about that as well, Keely. So, but that was.
It's good that happened though too, because like teams want to see that, right? Teams want to see, okay, this isn't a perfect condition. Let's see how he throws with the wet ball. Let's see how they talk about hand size and grip strength and all that. They want to see all that. I remember at my pro day, they were spraying some of my footballs with water bottles, right, and trying to make it wet and see how he handled a wet ball drill and doing all those things. So and it worked in your favor, obviously, because you tore it up that day. But yeah, that's great. That's a great question, Keely. It's just that you don't think about the next layer of that.
I had forgotten about it, but Troy Aikman actually talked about it this season during one of your games, Sam, and he was like, if I had Sam's pro day in the rain, I wouldn't be drafted where I was. So I just thought it was funny that he also remembered it. So I felt like I needed to follow up with you on that one.
Interesting. Yeah, I feel like a lot of people, it's funny now thinking about it, like a lot of people remember the pro day in the rain, because like I can't think of another quarterback that's had a pro day where it was just like piss and rain the whole time. You know what I mean? And like that never happens. Like
Southern California.
One practice. I never had one practice at USC where it was raining. And then all of a sudden, like my pro day, like one of the biggest, times of my life, now it, raining. And it's just, of course, that happened at SC at that time. But no, it was, again, looking back on it, like thankful that it happened because it worked out pretty well.
All right, so as promised, let's actually dive into listener questions. Ty said, did this season with the Vikings change how you view your NFL career?
It's a great question. I think, personally, like I don't put too much, I don't pay too much attention to what's happened. I always try to focus on what I can do now to continue to get better and do what I can to not only help myself, but help my future teammates and my future coaches that, are going to be, right there with me side by side on Sunday. And so that's the biggest thing. That's the mindset that I feel like I've always had, was just to continue to just put my head down and worry about the things that I'm doing. And, the things that I have to worry about. Cause like it was a good season. And, I'm excited about the future, whatever the future holds. But that doesn't stop me from getting my workout in today or throwing or doing whatever I need to do to get better today.
Tyler said, what separates a good locker room from a great locker room in your opinion?
That's a good question.
Winning. I think winning has a lot to do with it, actually. If you get all the guys on the same page to win games, like the locker room, the vibes just go way up. And I think, all locker rooms that I've been a part of in the NFL have been great. But when you get guys all on the same page, to be able to go out there and play good football, and win games. But all jokes aside, like, when you get a squad to be able to work towards a goal, and say like you do lose, we're able to all come in together on Monday and get a workout in and feel really good about our chances the next week, and have a really good feeling going into that next Wednesday practice. Like, that's a great locker room. And when you get guys that are kind of just there, and kind of are just, cutting the checks, and just kind of, counting down the minutes until they can get out of the building. It's still a good locker room, because those are good dudes. But those aren't the guys that are going to be necessarily in the league for 10 plus years.
Yeah, and I always, that's perfect. Yeah, that was a great answer. But I always tell Keely, when you can be a part of a team that is a bunch of we firsters instead of me firsters, guys that are seriously, not just say it in the media and it sounds great. Oh, I want to win. I don't care about personal stats. The guys always say, I'll trade my trophies for a national championship. But the guys that truly mean that and buy into that and are more focused on your win-loss record than they are how many yards I had in each game, that's when you have those true winning mindsets and the really great teams. You take the good teams or the great teams. So yeah, that's a great point.
CK Stream says, do you have a favorite NFL game that you played in so far?
Ooh, my favorite game from this year. was I'll have a two-parter there. Sorry to keep going on, Cody. I know you're tired and you want to go to
Will
bed.
you? No. Hey, bro,
but
you're talking to the wrong person. You need that. Go look at. We need to send him some of our uncut
This
edits.
man talks way too much, Sam. It's horrible.
Keely tells me to
we're
stop
all used
talking.
to it.
Dude, I could listen to you talk for hours when we talk football stuff. I promise. No, you go
All
as
right.
long as you want, bro.
No, we had a solid game against the Falcons. It was my first game in the NFL that I threw for 5 touchdowns. So that was a really fun game. Just felt like we were all dialed, and even when plays broke down, I felt like we were all on the same page out there. And then my you know one B, I guess would be my first start in Detroit. We ended up beating the Lions, and my first pass of my career was a pick 6 in that building. And to just see how I bounced back from that was pretty special. So to be able to get that first win, that was one that I'll always remember as well.
Mike said, what's your mindset this offseason, and what does this offseason actually look like for you in that regard?
Yeah, right now, it's continuing to get healthy. Coming out of the season, playing a full season, you have some nicks, some bruises that you got to fix up. I was very I didn't have anything major, knock on wood, but I was able to come out pretty clean. So just kind of healing some different things up that way, and doing all the things that I can. But I'm a lot of guys like to take some time off. I like to get a sweat in. I just every day, I feel like once I'm done playing, I'm gonna work out a ton anyways. So I've just always kind of been that way, and I've always feel like I'm just a better person when I can work out and just go about my daily routine that way. So I'm working out. I'm not throwing yet. I'll probably throw mid-March, start throwing then. But once I start throwing in mid-March, it's really nonstop until the season starts.
We got a question from Jake who said, I was in the marching band for your Rose Bowl win and will always support you. Do you still keep up with Juju, Adoree, and others from that roster?
Let's go, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, I keep up with those guys. I was able to see Juju at the Penn State game. When I was actually able to see Adoree this year as well after a game, which was special. I just love seeing all those guys, not only them, but all the other guys that were able to be a part of my few years at USC. It's always, like I mentioned kind of in the beginning, it's always special just to be able to spend time with those guys.
NYUSC says, do you have any pregame rituals?
No, like superstitions, nothing crazy. I do put on my left sock before my right sock, and my left shoe before my right shoe.
That is superstitious. You can't say no superstitions and then you're down to what sock
but
you
that's
put
just,
on
that's
first,
just what
bro.
I do, though. But that's
okay.
just what I do. I do it every day. I would put on my Vans the same way.
You're not superstitious. You're just stitious. You're not for all my The Office listeners out there, my fans who got that quote.
If you're gonna quote The Office, you got to quote it right, Cody. All right.
What does he say? So wait, do it. He said I'm not superstitious.
I'm not superstitious, but I'm a little stitious.
I'm a little stitious.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go.
Hold on.
So you're gonna say you're not superstitious? Where did that start?
You're not superstitious, but you put your socks and your shoes on a certain way.
We can't breeze
over. I've always done that.
Okay.
Even when you so you're waking up on a random Tuesday in the off season, you're still putting your left sock on first, no matter what.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
So it's just something that I've always done. I don't know. I think it started in college too, but yeah.
Okay. No pregame rituals unless Kirk Herbstreit's there.
Yeah,
you gotta sling it.
Yeah,
you gotta go
slinging
it. Rip.
just slinging it. We had a question from Zany who said, taking football completely out of it, what was your favorite city you lived in post USC and why?
I would have to say Charlotte. I met my girlfriend there as well, so that holds a special spot for me. But I just love that city. I love all the places to go eat. I love like the seasons too. Like the winter's not crazy bad, so you get to like get a little bit of the seasons, but not the extremes, not the extreme colds like some places. But yeah, I just love Charlotte. Such a fun town. Had really great teammates there as well to be able to share that with. And so yeah, that'd probably be my favorite spot.
Couple more. Nick said, which opposing player on film has impressed you the most and why?
Dang, that's a great question.
I'm assuming they mean any level, college, NFL, just in general. Yeah.
Yeah. So Cody.
Me?
Nick was actually
Cody
Cody. It was
Kessler?
his burner
Yeah.
account.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
So any
who do you
level?
want? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Outside of Cody.
No,
I'll answer real quick to buy time for Sam. My mind flashed to Jalen Smith when he was at Notre Dame. I remember watching him on tape, and like you have those guys that you remember preparing for, like, dude, this guy is a problem. Jalen Smith at Notre Dame was that guy for me, probably in college, and then NFL. There's a couple guys. I mean, you can pick from a handful.
Yeah, right. I mean,
so many.
I feel like there's a lot of guys in the NFL. The guy I would say in college at UCLA at the time when I was playing was Tack McKinley.
Oh wow,
he really stood out to me. Just watching him, like I felt like he was on a beeline to the quarterback every single play, and that was kind of in the back of my mind playing those guys the 2 times that I played him. But I think I might have only played him once. I'm not even sure, but yeah, he was always flashing on tape for us.
Dude, NFL, that's funny. The only player I remember watching on film that I was like, I don't want to say scared of, because you're never scared to get hit. You're never worried. But I remember watching James Harrison my rookie year on film when we were getting ready to play Pittsburgh, and I was in Cleveland, and I was starting that game. That question flashed me back. I remember being like, dude, please.
Yeah,
we had Joe Thomas at left tackle. We had some other guys.
Yeah.
We had a decent offensive line, but I'm like, please just do not let this guy through any time during the game at any point.
It's always the defensive lineman for quarterbacks, because you don't want to get hit.
Who are those defensive? My first start.
Aaron Donald.
Aaron Donald's another one.
I'm surprised that wasn't mentioned.
Well, my first start against Miami as a rookie, week 3, like RG3 gets hurt week 1, Josh McCown gets hurt week 2. My plan was, oh hey, we're gonna quote unquote NFL redshirt you. Week 3, I'm the starter because both guys get hurt. We have Ndamukong Suh. They had Mario Williams. I forgot there was someone else up there too. Or I think Cameron Wake, someone else up there on their defensive line.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there like, dude. And I think the second play, I just got absolutely. He gave me a Charlie horse. Like his knee went right into the side of my leg. I think it was Cameron Wake, and I was down. And I'm like, yeah, this is gonna be a long day. But yeah, there's some freaking dudes in the NFL, man. You could pick any of them.
Yeah.
Steve said, "Do you still surf? And if so, where do you like to surf?"
See, like this is another thing. I'd love to squash this because I've never surfed. I've never been good at it.
What?
Yeah,
San Clemente.
Look at the brand that you've established for yourself.
I know, it's great.
It's not even true.
Yeah, it's great. No, it's funny though, because like people think I surf, and when people come up to me in person, I'm like, oh yeah, like I was just at Trestles the other day. It was pumping. Like you should get out there. Like I kind of like feed into it. So I think that's why some people like.
Get pitted, bro. You're just like,
yeah, exactly.
You skated though, right? I know you skated though a little bit, right?
I used to skate when I was a little kid. I used to skate, and then but I was a boogie boarder.
There you go.
I would get on the boogie board, and that was kind of my thing when I was in like middle school.
That's close enough.
I was too lazy.
Yeah,
I would just ride the wave and stay on my belly.
You show up with the palm trees behind you, so you really are repping the brand of California kid.
You can love the beach and you can love the Orange County. You don't have to surf.
I'm a little disappointed though in that one. I thought he was going to be like, yeah, man, I'm shredding off season. I'm up there every morning at 5 a.m. in my wetsuit, right down like peak surfing time now. Just not even at all.
Right. I'm not waking up that early.
All right. Now, hey, see, now we've all found the right hobby now in our age. Now we're all golfers now. All the extreme sports are yeah. That's what we love to do now.
Dude, like I was talking to.
No, we're going to this offseason though. I promise.
Okay.
We're gonna get me, him, Barkley. I golfed with Matt a couple weeks ago or the other month, and you and Matt just played at Torrey Pines, right? Yeah. How was that, dude? This is fan question, Cody here. Oh, you got the hat on and all right. Yeah,
wow.
Go ahead and rub it in. Yeah,
but
how was that?
it was a good time. It was a good time.
How'd you play?
No, it was so hard. The course was
because it was in tournament conditions.
They were getting ready for the Toast, the Genesis, and I watched that whole tournament because I was so curious, and those guys were struggling, dude. And I was like, all right, this makes me feel a little bit better about myself.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's hilarious. Okay, I'm going to end with this one. It's actually a statement, but it's from Frankie, who says, no question, but as a lifelong Trojans and Vikings fan, please let him know how special it was to watch him kill it this year. Forever a fan of his game. Can't wait to see what's next. Fight on.
Thanks, Frankie. Where's my camera? You're the best.
There you go.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, Sam, thank you so much for coming on the show. Is there anything else you want to add? I know we were everywhere with topics this episode, but if you want to close out your little interview portion, go for it.
No, man, I appreciate you guys having me on. Obviously a long time coming. I know you guys have had just about everyone else on here, but I appreciate the invite finally, Cody and Keely.
No, hey,
it's been really fun, you
You're
guys.
the second person we've had on the show.
We've had plans to have other people on, but we have not.
They never came
through
to
with them.
fruition.
You are the second guest. Wow, Keely does her
Oh,
own
wow.
little segment. Dude, I don't even get invited to the guest segments anymore. Keely does like interviews like some of the
No.
basketball players and the coaches. She's like, Cody, you stay home this week. Don't worry about it. I get
There you
kicked
go.
off the show.
No,
We
but,
just had
for real,
Matt Barkley the other episode. So
Yeah.
Gotcha,
you're
yeah.
second.
For real
But
though,
no.
I appreciate you guys having me on, man. It was awesome.
Yeah, man, seriously, that was awesome. So I know fans are gonna love listening to this, and you know, it's so cool. You know, for being a former USC quarterback, let's do another one. Just the future of everything that's happening at USC. It's awesome. And I, you know, for all of you younger guys out there listening that play the quarterback spot to hear this, just take some of this to heart, because the stuff that Sam's talking about and the stories that he tells and all these little things that go into having the success that he had this year doesn't happen overnight. Right? There's going to be adversity. There's going to be trials. There's going to be tribulations. There's going to be so many things that don't happen or don't go your way, but you can't let that affect your, you know, your future. You have to stay optimistic. You have to use that adversity going forward. Sam is, you know, walking proof of that. But man, I was so pumped for you this year. I know Trojan Family and all the USC fans out there were as well. And you know, whatever the future holds for you in the NFL, whether it's Minnesota, wherever you may be going, man, we're so excited for you and you know, can't wait to see what you do in the next coming years, man, for sure.
Appreciate it, Coach. Appreciate you, Keely.
Yeah, and then also, final thing I'll say too is don't duck me on the golf course, because that's happening soon.
Oh, we gotta golf for sure.
We'll get out to Pelicans sometime soon.
Alrighty, that's gonna wrap it up for our episode with Sam Darnold. I had so much fun catching up with him. Cody, I still can't get over the fact that the Deontay Burnett touchdown in the Rose Bowl was improvised to a certain degree. Just insane, the chemistry that those two had.
Yeah, and it's unbelievable that, you know, I mean, and when you watch from the outside looking in, it's like, oh, what a great play call, or what a great, you know, situational awareness, or that was, you know, the perfect call at the right time. But in reality, it's two guys that have spent countless hours of watching film and working together in the offseason, and the stuff that you don't see on TV, right? Staying late after practice, or throwing, you know, on an off day, and putting that time and effort in so that they can make that play in one of the biggest situations in their entire lives, you know? So that was so cool. And that's going to be forever in USC history, that play, that game. But what a great guy to have on the show. You know, Sam's just unbelievable. I love him as a person off the field as well, but just who he is as a competitor and as a quarterback on the field. Bleeds Cardinal and gold. He's a true Trojan through and through. It was so cool to hear some of his stories and to go back and forth with him and share stories. And it was cool for me too, how similar our situation was. You know,
Yeah.
I was a senior, he was a freshman. So, you know, and he was awesome. I loved him. He helped me out a ton that year when we spent together and getting to, you know, talk to each other in film room and outside and all of that. But I didn't fully know how similar our story was about, you know, played basketball. We both got hurt our junior year, didn't know what our future was going to be. USC was one of our later offers, ended up coming here, had to compete into a season, you know, a couple games into a season before we became the full-time starter. So it was awesome. But what a great guy, you know, to have on the show. And you know, I'm so excited for him too, because what he did this year in the NFL just shows and it proves what a lot of us already knew, right? We knew the talent was there. We knew the arm talent, the skill set, the athleticism to be a great quarterback was there. He just had to be in the right situation, the right opportunity to go show it, right? And he did just that. He earned himself, you know, so much more time in the NFL. And he also proved that not only can he be a starter in the NFL, but he can be a top quarterback in the NFL, right? He went to the Pro Bowl, one of the top quarterbacks this year in the entire country. So much fun to watch. I'm excited for his future. We're obviously always going to follow him here at the Victory Pod. I'm sure the Trojan family can agree with me on that. But yeah, it's cool that, you know, we got to have an interview episode. I think those are a lot more fun in the off season, right? When we're going to talk.
Oh yeah, I love talking.
We'll do the breakdown of, you know, preseason, who the players are before spring ball. And we'll get back into all of that. But right now, when we have this downtime and not a lot of topics going on, it's cool to have some former Trojan back on. So look forward to some more of those episodes. Also, if you guys want to, if you can, tune into NFL Network next week to watch me on Good Morning Football. But with all that being said, I am done. I can't wait to watch this. I can't wait to watch the episode back. You know, I normally I'll watch it back and be like, all right, I already know what's going to happen. I can't wait to go back and listen to some of these stories again of all of us going back and forth. But love you guys. Fight on. Thank you guys for all the support again. Like I said, getting me these opportunities of going forward. I want to be able to do out to you guys and Keely for, you know, seeing the spark, I guess, in me, or seeing the talent that I had, the little bit of talent that I had. He studied film and said, hey, why don't you come back and try this podcasting thing and doing some broadcasting stuff. But no, in all seriousness, fight on. Love you guys. And thank you for everything.
I was your Ed Orgeron with the little camcorder.
There you go. Yeah. You were recruiting me. You invited me on one episode, and then you said, "Hey, this kid's got what it takes. Let's see what let's let him keep trying out a little bit." But
exactly.
No, it's awesome. But anyways, I'm done talking. Fight on. I got to go back to being a dad. I'm going to take over for my wife and get back to my son and my family. But what a great episode.
Alrighty, you heard the man. That's going to wrap it up for this week's episode. Thanks so much for tuning in. That's Cody. I'm Keely. We'll see y'all next time.